right, welcome everyone to another Jags podcast. Guys, this is episode 10. We've made it 10 episodes in 10 weeks. So it's a good night. Joey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's TPC week, podcast night. Feeling good, man.
Awesome. Jason, how we doing?
Amazing.
Good. Robert?
Really good.
Awesome. We're going to be talking about Dante Fowler tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about Blake Bortles tonight as well. We're going to bring up a question from one of our Twitter followers. And also, as Joey has already alluded to, the TPC is this week, so we're going to be talking about the Players' Championship. But before we do that, we want to let everyone know that we are on social media platforms. Sorry, we're playing on the road tonight. We're in a different location. There's a cat that will not leave me alone. So if I sound distracted, that's why. I'm not a cat person. Do we have anyone?
Are you sure it's not a Jaguar and it's a cat?
No, it's not. It's not nearly ferocious enough to be a Jaguar.
I'm interested to see how y'all perform on the road tonight. At home, it's easy, but when you're on the road, sometimes
I'll tell you right now, I'm distracted. this cat will, and I'm wearing flip flops. It's all on my toes.
Well, wait till he jumps on the computer or the soundboard, man. It's going to go straight downhill from there.
I got the water bottle over there. You just shake it at him.
Stupid.
He
cat.
runs away.
I hate cats. It's like it knows it. It's just sticking it to me. Might as well have a Titans jersey on. But we are on social media platforms. We're on Twitter at Another Jags Pod, Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud and also iTunes for all of those other podcast platforms as well. So as is going to happen tonight, if you follow us, you listen to us, and you want us to discuss something, let us know, and we'll include it in one of our shows. Before we get to the Blake Bortles stuff, though, we want to talk about Dante Fowler and how the Jaguars did not pick up his fifth-year option. They chose not to do that, unlike what they did last year when they chose to pick up the Blake Bortles fifth-year option. So, plain and simple, guys, was this a smart move for the Jags? Did they make the right decision not picking up Fowler's fifth-year option?
I'm going to say it was a bad decision because the decision to not pick up his option was predicated on the fact that we have a better defensive end on the roster. And I totally get that. I totally understand. But the position of defensive end is such a premium that if you're going to risk your financial cap on one position, the only position I would say that would be defensive end. I mean, look what the Broncos did with their draft pick. They drafted Bradley Chubb, having Von Miller on the roster, because defensive end is a position where you can't have too many. It doesn't matter. I mean, two play on the field at all times, especially in our scheme that we do. Currently, Dante Fowler is the 22nd highest paid defensive end.
In the league?
In the league.
Not on the roster.
Not on the roster.
In the league. At 14.5.
No, that would have been.
Okay.
It would have been. He is averaging only right now $5.8 million a year right now. Okay, and if you look at his stats with 8 sacks last year, that ranks him in if we're counting the postseason sacks, which he had, he's up to 10. So 8 in regular season, 2 in the postseason. That ranks him in the top 6 in the league. So if you're looking at it like that, my big thing is Yannick Ngakoue is a really, really good player. And I know we're going to have to pay him. And I know we're going to have to pay Myles Jack. And I know we're going to have to pay Jalen Ramsey. But what if Yannick Ngakoue has a drop-off year? Or what if Yannick Ngakoue, heaven forbid, gets hurt? Or let me just throw this scenario at you guys and tell me what you think. And this isn't that far-fetched of a scenario. But what would you do if Yannick Ngakoue, through injury or performance, has 7 sacks next year? Not a bad year. But then Dante Fowler has 12, playing in the same role he played this year. How would you approach the contracts going into next year? Would you do the same, or would you look at it differently?
I love when I get to disagree with Jason because most of the time he makes complete sense, and I agree with him. But in this case, I don't think they made the decision to not pick up that option based off that. I think they made the decision based off his maturity level. I think if they had gone ahead and gotten that option, we might have gotten 4 sacks out of that kid this year, man. I mean, yes, he's made some strides. I mean, again, I'm a Gator homer. I love the fact that he's from Florida. I mean, I love that we have a Florida player that's finally good since Freddie T. But he could have mailed it in this season. If he has a great year, yeah, we might lose him. Absolutely. But you know what? He's going to have to prove it. He's going to have to earn that money, which I don't really think he has at this point in my mind.
10 sacks in a season hasn't earned him money?
I mean, as a backup.
As a backup? And not to mention, he was arguably our best player in the postseason.
Postseason, he showed what he could do. That's what he should be doing every game, in my mind. if he wants to be the best. And he also has guys on the whole line that's helping him be better, man. You can't leave anybody in that line alone. Of course he's going to be able to show out. If he was the only guy in that line that was a rusher, what's he going to look like? I don't know. And Ngakoue, sure. Okay, say he has a off year. Dude, his skill set is sick, though. His speed is sick. He fumbles. If he gets hurt, then that's a different story altogether. And then we have to pay Fowler whatever we have to pay him to keep him if we want to. I mean, that's something that cross that bridge when it gets to it in my mind.
My thing is you want to keep young people on your team. I love Malik Jackson. I love Calais Campbell, but Dante Fowler is young, and he showed out last year, again, as a backup. I mean, I would love to keep both Dante and Unique. I think that would be the best way to go. I mean, again, I love Calais Campbell. I love Malik Jackson, but I would rather be clearing the cap with the two of them and keeping Dante than get rid of Dante and pick up another year of Malik and Calais. I mean, they're both getting older. Dante, he had that many sacks as a backup. Put him in a few more snaps a game, and let's see what else he can do.
Based on that, I definitely agree. I mean, except for the fact we want to win now. They're not making a decision off 3 years from now. They want to win this year, next year. They're thinking about at this moment. So those other guys are on our team at the moment, and he really hasn't shown what he needs to show in my mind.
Well, in terms of Campbell and Malik versus Dante, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges there because they don't play the same position.
Edge.
Yeah, and so it's hard to say one or the other there. But going back to Jason's question, his hypothetical, if Unique were to drop off, which is possible, I think, this year, honestly, because he had 12 sacks last year. He had a monster year. I think 6 of those sacks were strip sacks. Monster year. So for him to drop off even to 10 is, again, not a bad year. It's something that is a possibility. If Fowler ended up getting 12 sacks playing behind Ngakoue, that would be getting the 3rd overall pick of the draft, finally, to me. The guy that lives up to his potential all the way. And,
well, let's say through injury to Calais or injury to an interior guy, Calais moves inside. Let's say it's not playing behind Yannick. Let's say they play equal snaps, and the hypothetical still exists. Then, I mean, how would you? Because it is a hypothetical, and you could do what ifs all day, but it's not really that hard to imagine happening.
No, it's not. It really isn't, especially going back to what y'all have already said, that he had 8 sacks as a backup. So if he were to let's just say he was on equal footing with Ngakoue and he got 12, I mean, it's a great problem to have. You know, it really is. And what they do after that is, I would hope they would try and restructure his contract in a way where they get to keep him. I like the move because I don't think the Jags have anything to lose or gain by extending his 5th-year option, by signing him to his 5th-year option. Because I agree with Joey. I want to see Fowler play with his back against the wall and see how he responds when push comes to shove. It's why I still to this day don't understand why they picked up Bortles' option last year. To me, the Jaguars had nothing to gain in doing that. They did it anyway, and all the Jaguars do when you pick up the 5th-year option, to me, when it comes to players like Bortles and Fowler, they're very similar, in my opinion. Drafted 3rd overall. You know, there's potential written all over him, but there's also a lot of question marks. Maturity is different. Bortles is a leader. I think he's solid, mature in terms of how he plays. Fowler, I think, can grow up a little bit, but to me, all the Jags were risking was injury. You know, when you extend them on that 5th year and they get injured, you owe them that money regardless. So I say, let's see what happens. Let's see how he responds. I love Fowler. He's the wild card of the defense. He's a maniac, and I think what people don't talk enough about with his game is the run game. He shows up in run defense, I think, more than Ngakoue does. You see him more active on run plays, tackling the running back, than you do so with Ngakoue. I think Ngakoue sees the quarterback, and he is going after the quarterback, and he's done an amazing job at that. We love him, but I think Fowler, his ability to play the run is a little underplayed and a little undervalued maybe. So we'll see this year what happens. How does he respond? And I'm expecting big things. I think, he had 8 last year as a backup. I've already talked about how the defensive line and the defense overall was very healthy last year. So I think you're going to see him get more snaps because there could be some injuries. I certainly hope not, but that just is, the nature of the beast in the NFL. So we'll see, but I expect him to do better, and who knows? we mentioned this in the last episode. Maybe they trade him if he's trending upwards, and Ngakwe's having a great year too. You know, you can't have everything, so maybe trade him and see what they can get.
I love Ngakwe, but just something about watching them both play. I just have this feeling that Fowler has a higher ceiling. And it's not because he was drafted in the first round and Ngakwe was drafted in the third. It's just the overall athleticism. And Ngakwe gets all his... I mean, they talked about it in the NFL Top 100. He has a great cross-chop move that beats a lot of tackles. But Ngakwe makes his plays on, like, effort. He gets knocked to the ground, and he gets up, and he collapses the pocket. I have a little stat here. I went back and watched the Patriots game, and I tracked something that I don't usually track. I tracked how many times a defensive end was double teamed. And if you follow our Twitter, I put a little preview on the numbers, but I'm going to go a little deeper here. It's common for interior defensive linemen to get double teamed because of just the nature of stunts that defensive ends do, and linemen, it's easy for them to double team interior guys. But defensive ends on the Jaguars, Bill Belichick double-teamed Calais Campbell twice and double-teamed Yannick Ngakoue once. He double-teamed Dante Fowler 6 times. That means he made an effort. And you know, with the Bill Belichick run team, every little thing, even double teams, are calculated. And he double-teamed Dante Fowler 6 times. Then Dante Fowler had the best game, honestly, outside of Marcel Darius, who only had to defeat one-on-ones most of the game, in that whole game. And that game against the Patriots is the one I go back to because I think we can get back to the AFC Championship game, but it's going to come down to us having to beat a team like the Patriots, a team like the Steelers, or a team like the Rams or Vikings in the Super Bowl that's going to put us over the edge. So those critical, crucial games those are the games I look to the stats the most. So the fact that he was double-teamed 6 times, another interesting stat from that game, and this is kind of outside of the point, but Bill Belichick made such an effort to take our defensive line out of the game that out of about 35 snaps, Tom Brady had 3-step drop passes on 20 of them. I mean, they went into the game wanting to pick on our linebackers and safeties, and that's what they did.
And it worked. Well, and also, put some $100 bills in the referees' back pockets.
Oh my gosh. I don't even think they had.
It made me so angry. The pass interference they called on Jalen Ramsey, where he had perfect coverage, and then all the non-holding calls.
I think that's a whole podcast in itself, right there.
Well, Boye's there was a pass interference on AJ Boye that I could see,
which was crap.
I could see why they called it though, because he kind of grabbed his arm a little bit, and from the angle of a referee, it kind of looked like it. Jalen had a play where he had perfect blanket coverage, and he just put his right arm around it to where if you had a bad angle, it could look like he was doing it, but it was perfect coverage. And it's just sad because they give the Patriots the benefit of the doubt. They had 2 plays at the end of the second half where they gained 80 yards. 80 yards. They called a personal foul penalty on Barry Church on Rob Gronkowski, which is hilarious because people don't think about this. The drive before, Telvin had the same hit on Rob Gronkowski and rung his bell, and they didn't call it. But then they did it again in Barry Church, and they gave him a 15-yard helmet-to-helmet.
Both of them are great plays.
The next play, they call a 50-yard pass interference penalty on A.J. Boye. It's just pathetic.
Do y'all think the pass interference penalty in the NFL should be like college?
Absolutely.
I mean, why is it?
Absolutely.
It makes no sense to me.
Because players like the Tom Brady, they take advantage of it. Every single play
why
that
wouldn't
was
you?
Incomplete that the Patriots had, the receivers came up looking for a flag.
It's got to be
Hands up, looking at the refs. Every single play.
Got to be part of your game plan. Why wouldn't it not be when that's such a huge pickup?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for offenses to do it. It's just a terrible.
No, it's crappy.
It's a terrible rule.
Crappy football, and it shouldn't be a rule.
That's why they should all be reviewable.
I mean, to touch back on Fowler real quick, though, I mean, if he is that guy from the playoffs, then I agree. Pay him whatever it takes. Pick him up. Keep him. Because he is that guy. You say, like, the intangibles, like there's something about him. He's the guy on the team that if he hits the other team, he could, like, hurt them. Like he just got so much force, so much power, so much just spring. I mean, he's different in that regard that he literally could tear somebody apart.
But here's the problem. By not picking up his option, he's going to get more money from a team with more cap room and the free agency.
Sure, and that's the risk is that...
Unless the Jags sign him first. I mean, they have first rights to him.
But the risk is that if you don't pick up somebody's option, they almost never sign with the same team. So,
and he's not going to, and they're not going to be able to match a team with cap room. a team that's going into next season, the Colts are going to have so much cap room next year. And they're going to be able to offer him, for us having to re-sign Ngakoue, Jack, and Ramsey, we're not going to be able to afford another.
I don't even want to think about this, but what if J.J. Watt goes next year?
The Texans have a lot of money wrapped up in their defensive line, so it'd be
They
tough.
won't after J.J. leaves, though.
But even with, they're going to have to re-sign Merciless and Clowney. So with those monies on the books, it's going to be tough. But the Colts are going to get whoever they want with their cap room.
Again, I still think it was a good decision not to, solely based off the fact, like you said, Ngakoue, like his plays are on effort. That guy's probably running stadiums right now. You don't see that with Fowler. He's at the club, or he's swimming in a pool, or you don't see those videos of him just like working his butt to the bone.
And just because you don't see videos doesn't mean he's not doing it.
Really?
And even if he isn't doing it, some players are just naturally more gifted.
But he is naturally more gifted. But
I mean, he's coming off of an ACL injury. We've really only seen 2 years of him. Where Ngakoue, he's had an extra year on Dante Fowler. Just by the fact that he hasn't had an ACL injury, coming back off of that. The dude was a stud at UF on his athleticism.
Absolutely.
And Ngakoue was a third-round pick. And I know players pan out the way they do, but I just think we really, really messed up by not, because we have no option. He's going to get more money by another team in the offseason, and we're going to end up trying to restructure Campbell, trying to restructure Malik, which are good players, but they're aging.
I don't think we will. I think that's why they drafted Brian. I mean, or restructure Campbell to a very team-friendly deal. But, I mean, they got Brian for the future. You know, I'm with Joey on this one. I think when it comes to Fowler, in the NFL, you have to do more than flash brilliance. You have to be consistent. You have to show it week in and week out. Not to say that you can't have a bad game every once in a while, but you have to be consistent, at least on film, in your effort. And yes, he had a great game against New England, but you can't say that throughout the whole season. Where with Ngakoue, you see that same intensity, that same effort. I'm guessing starting in July in the training camps all the way through the season. I don't think that guy slows down at all.
But if he does show it, we still have that option to throw money at him, man. I mean, you know, you like you said, you renegotiate Campbell, you get rid of whoever, and give him the house. Like, hey, here's all the money. Stay, please, because you did awesome.
Let me ask you this: who do you all think is going to be gone? Let's just talk about the defensive line after the 2018 season, going into 2019. Who is off the team on the defensive line that's on the team right now?
Darius, for sure.
I think it's tough to say he's off the team, but I mean, last podcast I talked about how I believe he's going to get restructured to a team-friendly deal. Players that are young don't get team-friendly deals. So Ngakoue, Fowler, they're not taking team-friendly deals. They're going to get they got a window of opportunity to make money. They're going to make money. That's why I think Fowler's gone. Campbell, Malik Jackson, and Darius, I think all potentially could be restructured to a team-friendly deal. Honestly, Darius is a pretty good player. He makes a lot of money, but he played really, really well against the Patriots.
Well, it was never a knock on him of being like a good player. It was like character issues. And but coming here, he's like, I think you're
always on those character issues, Joey.
It's the truth,
Who cares, man? Who cares how they act?
Why else would the Bills get rid of him mid-season when he's that good of a player, man? It was locker room
Why
stuff.
did that with Marone too?
Why does the Browns draft Antonio Callaway? Character issues are out the window, man. What was about the Cowboys, man? They're drafting.
Yeah, we'll see how that Callaway pick works out.
I'm just saying, you're bigger on the character than I am. I'm with you, but Darius, he's our best run defender. When on a halfback draw or a screen, Darius is the one that recognizes it way before anyone else. He's down the field. He's taking the perfect angle, and he makes the tackle. Our heaviest, fattest guy on our D-line is chasing people down the field more than anyone else.
I think you just kind of made the point of why we can re-sign Fowler next year, though. Calais Campbell, he's older. He's going to renegotiate. Darius, he's older. He's going to renegotiate. Malik, he's older. He's going to renegotiate. They've all gotten paid. So if they do and want to stay, then we have money
Miles Jack and Jalen Ramsey and Yannick Ngakoue all on rookie deals.
First of all, I'm not Jack. He's got to show something too, man.
They don't have to sign Jack next year. That's just when they can start.
Sure.
All three of those guys, Ramsey, Jack, and Ngakoue, that's just when the option to be able to re-sign them and give them a raise can happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do it next year.
Jack's another dude that showed potential and flashed, man. I mean, he's got to have a solid year to prove he's that guy.
He needs another year from me as well.
Jack's that guy.
I think he is too. I do think he is too, but he hasn't shown it yet.
Let me ask you, Ken, and I'm curious. I don't know the answer to this. Can they franchise tag Fowler if they didn't pick up his 5th-year option?
That's a good question.
That's an amazing question, James.
Okay, so I'm thinking that they can, but at that cost, he would be at
Astronomical
20
price.
million.
He would be at, let's see here, the average per year, the
think
top
it's 20.
5 is around 16, 17 million. So
it would be more.
It would be at $1.5 million more than picking up
Okay.
his
But
That's
option would be.
nothing more than his option, though, when you're talking about
But
it,
we
though.
don't have that in cap room. We're sitting at like, what, 10 right now?
After you renegotiate everybody, though.
But you're going to have to pay. Picking up an option on Jalen Ramsey, he was the 5th overall pick. His option is going to be what Fowler's was. It was around $15 million. So, I mean, picking up his option.
Ramsey's going to be the highest paid corner in the NFL
Absolutely.
when
I
his
agree.
turn comes.
Yeah, for sure.
And rightfully so.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. You got to pay him. But Jack, you're right. We could hold out a year for him, but then we're risking him being able to test himself on the open market and him getting top linebacker money.
But, dude, they're making a 2-year run. I mean, I think they are winning a Super Bowl in the next 2 years or bust. I mean,
I don't think so.
You don't?
No, I don't. I really, they're so young across the board that I think the window is bigger than people are willing to admit. And that's, again, why they drafted Brian, with their first round pick, because they are continuing to say, no, our window is more than 2 years. And yes, we have some older guys, but they're not old. I mean, if you look at the Titans, on some of the guys on their team, especially on defense, they have some old guys. I mean, veterans on their team. I would argue that Campbell, I don't have their actual ages in front of me or anything, but is he the oldest on the defense?
33.
Campbell, Darius,
Malik's younger than those two, though.
Church. Isn't it a spring chicken?
No, but I think they just drafted his replacement. I mean,
Yeah.
Malik's 28.
Malik's still pretty young.
I don't necessarily think it's more from an age standpoint. It's from a money standpoint is why the window's where
Yeah.
it is at. I mean, I think 2, 3
But even then, all that stuff can be restructured. All that stuff changes.
They've
And
already-
the cap,
yeah.
increases every year as well. And so look at Tom Brady. He restructures his contract like every year to
But
allow
Tom
the
Brady
team.
is a guy who takes team-friendly deals to win. And the Patriots are the only team that has sustained success over a long period of time. Like, you talked about our window not being short, but what's one team who's had a long window besides the Patriots?
Steelers.
The Steelers have had a decently long window.
Seahawks should have had another Super Bowl win, except they choked it away. I would say the Falcons have. The Saints have bounced back.
The Packers.
And it's not to say that when you say a window of opportunity, it has to be, to me, a window of opportunity is to make the playoffs. Because once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah, right.
But-
And I really think they are built right now to be able to say in 3 or 4 years that they still have an opportunity to win their division, and then who knows what happens after that.
I'm going to preface this rephrasing of Jason's question with, again, I'm a huge Bortles fan, but his question should have been, name a team that had a long window that did not have an elite top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, even like the teams you named, I'm thinking like the Saints and the Falcons, they're in the same division, and they're 1 year they're in and 1 year they're not. And then the Packers are in a terrible division. The Seahawks, I mean, they had, a 4-year run? The Seahawks were before Pete Carroll took over, they were a laughingstock of the league. And
But then they also were terribly mismanaged. Like if you think about,
I agree. It's because it's so hard to manage teams because of the cap. You only have so much money to go around, especially when you're picking as early as the Jaguars are every single year. These guys that end up being good got to get paid. And then you bring in free agents, they got to get paid, and then there's only so much money to go around.
This is where the Tom Coughlin effect occurs, I think, is what you're talking about right there. He understands that. He's seen what Bill Belichick does. They're not going after these high-dollar guys in terms of like flashiness and all that. The Patriots have Tom Brady, okay? But after that, they make it work with third-round players, And I think that's what the Jags are starting to do. Dave Caldwell is one of the best general managers in my opinion, drafting players in the 3rd and 4th round that are effective starters. Telvin Smith drafted in the 5th round. I mean, I know that he failed a drug test, but other teams could have picked him in the 4th. They picked him up in the 5th, and he is a stud on their team. Brandon Linder, Unique Ngakoue. The list goes on and on. So I don't know. I want to be cautious and say that in 3 years from now, we're going to be back to square one, the Jaguars of the last 10 years before this past season. I just think the way they're built, they're just so young across the board. I think they can figure out a way to. There's going to be hard decisions like the Fowler one, okay, but you maybe have to let him go, cut bait, and then bring someone else in. Trust that Ngakoue is going to be that guy for another 5 years, and then you have 5 years to find his replacement too, and just continue that cycle. So I don't know. It's all conjecture at this point. None of us know, but Coughlin has already come in and made some decisions that have rubbed people the wrong way. Case in point, Mercedes Lewis. He's gone. That's an older player that they did not want to pay. Get rid of him. And then let's just see what they can do with lesser-known tight ends and move forward. I don't know, though. We'll see what happens.
I'm completely speaking from a fan standpoint. I would much rather us be in the Super Bowl in 2019 or 2020 than us be a perennial playoff contender for the next 4 or 5 years. So whatever decisions need to be made for that to happen, that's why I say a 2-year window. I think that should be our goal. Anything outside of that is gravy as a fan.
I'll say this. That last point on the whole window thing. If the front office really believed that they only had a 2-year window to win the Super Bowl, I do not believe they would have stuck with Blake Bortles as their quarterback.
I agree.
That was a great point.
It was a great point.
Thank you.
It was a great point, and I'll back you up there because there's a lot of people who have been giving credit lately to the Jaguars, quote, brain trust, and how a lot of people believe in it. So, and I do too. I just think they may have mismanaged Dante Fowler and Mercedes Lewis because we need a blocking tight end. But we'll get to that some other time. But
listen, if you didn't hear episode 9 of our podcast from last week, we have brought up the fact that they need to call pause and bring him back, and I still think they need to do that.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I know. Based on our influence that we have over the team, you would think it would have.
I mean, I know all the players are listening to our podcast, so I think they'll just lobby for us. But
we love you, Jalen.
Why not bring back Mercedes Lewis on the league minimum?
Yeah, he hasn't been signed by anybody.
I know.
Well, that's very telling to me. When a player hasn't been signed by anybody and it's been this long, kind of the same thing with Des Bryant.
Do you think Coughlin would want to be like admit wrong though?
If you bring him back for league minimum, though, it's not wrong. It's like we didn't want to pay you.
To me, it's saying I'm right.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more like Mercedes Lewis not wanting to crawl back and take whatever money. Man, I mean, would you do that at that point?
On the edge, man. We need someone to block on the edge. We really do.
If it meant a possible Super Bowl, I would.
We do. We need it. I'd rather have Mercedes Lewis only coming in on running plays than having Niles Paul only coming in on special teams plays. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, like we said, there's tough decisions that have to be made, and I think that's why they're forward thinking and they're in this. They're trying to establish a whole new system there. And I'm with Joey. I agree. If you had a choice between obviously playing in the Super Bowl in the next years or just being a perennial playoff team that never gets past the second round, obviously we want to make it to the Super Bowl. That's the goal in all of it. But why not do both? Why not do both?
Because it's really, really hard to do both.
Yeah, but doesn't mean it can't be done.
No, I mean, and I hope they've got it dialed in, man. I can't knock the decisions they make at this point because they've been so dead on for the past couple of years that whatever, man. I got to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I'm just going to apologize for Joey. He's a quiet talker. I don't know if you've ever seen the Seinfeld, but he's the quiet talker, so we're going to try to boost his
I feel like I've been like screaming the entire time.
We're all going to end up wearing
literally
puffy shirts. All right, that wraps up our Dante Fowler talk. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to stop right there really quick. I had one more question I wanted to ask, and then we'll wrap up the Dante Fowler talk. And it's funny because this doesn't really have anything to do with him at all. The other player that's involved in the Jaguars not picking up his fifth-year option is Ngakoue. So let me ask you guys this really quick. Where do you see Ngakoue in terms of best defensive ends, pass rushing defensive ends in the NFL? Where do you rank him?
I'd have to defer to Jason on this one, and I'm going to be really loud when I talk.
Hey.
I mean, his skill set is so unique that...
No, it's Yannick.
Exactly. There you go.
It's actually Hanik, though.
I thought it was Yannick. He said he likes Yannick, I believe.
Okay.
Anyway, I mean, he's such a different skill set for that position than most. The strip outs, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. His top end could be way up here. He could have already met it. They could figure him out. I mean, I don't know.
All right, here's what I'm going to say real quick about Yannick Ngakoue. All right. So
Yannick.
I broke
Barry White on us.
Now who's the low talker?
Don't mistake bass for volume. No, I'm just kidding. But I broke down all of the Patriots plays where the defensive line had an impact. Now, remember, there was 20 plays. I'm sorry. there was a one-step drop play, 2 wide receiver screen plays, and 2 wide receiver sweep plays, along with 3 halfback draws where defensive line had no impact at all. All right, so we're looking at almost 30 plays where the defensive line had no chance to make an impact on the play. But on the plays where the defensive line did have an impact, I evaluated sacks, pressures, tackles for loss, whether they were a factor in the play, whether they were a non-factor in the play, and whether they were double teamed. Yannick Ngakoue had 3 pressures the entire game. He had 2 plays where he was a factor in the play. And he had 4 plays where he was a non-factor in the play. And he was only double teamed once. So I love Yannick Ngakoue, but I'm going to go on a limb. He may have been injured. We don't have the insight on the whole thing. But he did not step up in that Patriots game. And that's when we needed him the most, and he was MIA in that game. You know, anyone can get sacks against the Colts, and anyone can get sacks against scrub teams. But stepping up when it matters, that's when I care. So based on what I saw in the Patriots game, I'm a little down on Yannick right now. But I love him. I hope he does well. That's just where I stand on him.
That's a great point. And one of the downsides to having such a good defense is who benefits from who being good. Would this guy be that good on another team, or is it because of another guy on the other side of the field doing things that he's doing? I mean, it's almost impossible to
like
tell.
I said,
the corners that way.
Like
Yeah.
I said, he was only double teamed once. Now, again, the Patriots did game plan to take our defensive line out of the game.
Sure.
So his those numbers are going to be down, but he was only double teamed once, and he was only a factor in.
Well, like you said, Brady was getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds almost every play.
And don't forget,
he
the
can't
game,
get there in that time
the
either.
game
you know what I
before
mean?
that in Pittsburgh, he had a strip sack that Telvin picked up and ran for a touchdown. Pretty big factor there. You know, basically scored them 7 points. I'm having said that though, I'm a little, I have reservations as well, and I think it's because, which is such an unfair thing to say that because he's an all-effort guy that like that's a knock on him in a way, because you look at Fowler and he's such a freak athlete. If you just look at him, if you would just try like this guy, then what could you be? But you want to reward the guy that works hard, and certainly Ngakoue does that. He works insanely hard. By the Jaguars not picking up Fowler's option, it's not that they're betting against Fowler, it's that they're betting on Ngakoue. Really, because they play the same position. They're saying, look, we don't need you because we have this guy. And so is that the smart move? I mean, he's coming into his 3rd year, so he's got a lot of improvement that I think is still left in him. We'll see. They're saying, the Jaguars organization, that is, that Ngakoue, you're the guy. You're the man. You're our defensive end, pass rush specialty. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Getting 13 sacks, would we won more than he got this past year? That's an amazing year. Can he do that? Can he match his number? Can he go beyond his number, or will he go a little bit backwards?
I mean, I think on that you've got to defer to the coaching staff and the decisions that they've made and where they've gotten a team to be, because they see stuff that we don't even have access to. We see the game day. We see some practice footage. We see like a minute part of what is really out there. They're making that decision based off something. They're not stupid.
I mean, I hate that excuse though, because
it's not excuse.
Because everyone and your brother could have told you that Blaine Gabbert was going to be a terrible quarterback. And we're like, oh, let's defer to the coaching staff. He's going to be good, and then he was terrible.
Oh no, not that coaching staff. I'm saying this coaching staff. Yes.
Okay. Well, that would be would be saying that coaching that organizations never make mistakes when it comes to evaluating players, and they do. So
well, that's true, but they've had a pretty good track record.
I agree.
So real quick, Joey, Fowler and Ngakoue, who do you take?
As of today, Ngakoue.
I would say Ngakoue because of what he's shown, but I have a little feeling in my heart that Fowler has a higher ceiling.
I do think Fowler's going to end up being the better player, but I'm not going to bank on that.
I would go Fowler. I think I feel like he has more potential, and I feel like he's shown a lot being the second on the team. And I feel like if he had the same spot that Unique has currently, I think he would have done just as well, if not better. I mean, again, he was coming off an ACL. Last year might have been the first year we saw him probably most of the way healthy. I think this year we're going to see him fully healthy, and I think he's going to show out.
I say for me, Ngakoue all the way. I'm nervous, but I think it's more not because I don't think he's good, but because I'm nervous to let myself, allow myself to believe that he is as good as he is, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I'd also like to see how many, downs Ngakoue played versus Fowler. I mean, you keep saying like second string, sure, but dude, fresh legs coming in with tired legs makes a big difference, especially towards the end of a game. I mean, you're going to show out if you have half the reps of somebody else.
When Fowler was coming in on like third down, obvious passing downs, which gives him more chance at like sacks, whereas Ngakoue plays every snap.
That's true.
On run plays and things like that. I mean, Ngakoue has definitely shown more, no doubt. Like, if you're going off what they've shown, Ngakoue is an unbelievable talent who not only gets to the quarterback but makes an unbelievable play with getting the ball out and forcing turnovers. But when you can't help but use your eyes and notice how fast and athletic Dante Fowler is, and thinking that that same potential he was drafted high on is going to lead to him being more successful.
Not only that, like Fowler, even though he might not always hit the quarterback on every play, he's right there causing pressure. Like, usually someone else's sack is because he's coming in fast and someone else has to pick him up as well, and it opens up for another player to go in. I think it was there was several. I think there was 2 of the strip sacks that Yannick ended up getting were almost direct correlations because the quarterback rolled off because Fowler was coming. Fowler was coming in hot at him. So I mean that has a lot to do with Yannick also having those pressures and getting the sack.
And from a scientific standpoint, I mean, you cannot knock the fact that Fowler is way easier to say from a name standpoint.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, I struggled the whole
And
time.
spells. When you're on Twitter, it's really easy to type Fowler versus Ngakoue.
It's true. I think this coming up season is going to tell everyone all they need to know about Fowler. If he has another flashes in this game, disappears in the next, that is going to be who he is, because he has his second contract writing is on the line for him. And if he shows out, then what I think that says is when money's on the line, I'll play, but he's going to be really comfortable the next year. He's in a tough spot. He really is. I mean, when it comes to making millions of dollars, I don't know how tough it can be, but you know what I'm saying. So I think this year is gonna tell everyone all they need to know about who Fowler is as a player. I'll take the hard worker over the guy with the potential all day long.
And again, if you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year, what better player to put a chip on the shoulder of? I mean, come on.
I will say, just to end it, or just to answer a question you had, Yannick Ngakoue has played in 767 total snaps, and Dante Fowler has played in 464 total snaps.
That's a
insane.
big difference, man.
That's insane.
A big
Almost
difference.
double.
That's not just this past season, though, right?
No, it's career in the NFL.
So that's both the years that Fowler played.
Well, I think that wraps up our Fowler talk. That went way longer than I thought.
Please let that wrap that up. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, that went way long. We're going to take a quick break and try and get rid of this cat, and we'll come back and talk about a little bit of Blake Bortles. We'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back to episode 10 of Another Jags podcast. We're done with our little bathroom break since we talked for 8 hours about Dante Fowler. Before we talk about Blake Bortles, we want to remind everyone, Twitter, we're at Another Jags Pod. Facebook, Instagram, Another Jags Podcast. Again, SoundCloud, iTunes, all other podcast platforms. You can find us there. Tell your friends. We want to spread the word and let everyone know that we're talking about the greatest team in the NFL. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, we've talked defense. Now we're going to shift gears and talk offense, specifically Blake Bortles. We had one of our listeners, at Phil Shad on Twitter, ask us, he would like for us to discuss the completion percentage that Blake Bortles has on first downs. And his point was, I believe, everyone talks about the Jaguars being a run-first team. We're built on the run. We're going to run this. And, Robert, you actually brought up the point a few weeks ago about how the pass plays and the run plays that Jags had last year were dead even, the exact same number. And so we've seen the Jaguars have a lot of success throwing the ball on first down, at least we think. That's what this question is going to be about. Yet it seems like every drive is first down, run the ball. First down, run the ball. So, what is it? To answer at Phil Shad's question, what is Blake Bortles' first down completion percentage? Do we know that?
I do, and I'm actually going to go
Thank God. I'm glad someone
a lot more.
He asked this about 3 weeks ago.
I'm going to go over a lot more. I'm going to go over actually all of his first down throwing stats. But this was talked about a lot last year. And not being the football mind that like Jason is from like a scheme standpoint, I do question.
Stop it.
What's that?
Oh, stop it.
Oh, start.
Man. Hey, credit where credit's deserved, man. I do kind of question, like, is it that simple? Is it, hey, throw in first down every? It can't be, because if we threw in first down every time, then people would scheme against that. And Maybe some of Fournette's biggest runs were because they thought we were going to throw on first down and we didn't. So, I mean, all that comes into play. But like at Phil Shad said, which I do have to say is he is a huge Blake Bortles fan, so that's why he brought this up. The stats are amazing. I mean, if you look at it, he was 120 completions out of 185 attempts with 1,500 yards. So that was like 65% roughly. That's about 7% better than he was on average. So that's a big pickup as far as completion percentage. His average was almost a full yard longer. His long was almost 23 yards longer on average, and he has 11 TDs and 2 interceptions. The stats definitely back up that statement of he should be throwing on first down. So the question is, what makes him more efficient on first down? And that's really what I don't know. I mean, it kind of...
I do. You want me to tell you?
Absolutely, man.
Right.
Solve the riddle.
The problem is
Let's go to the football mind. Joey, we're done with you. Let's go to the football mind.
No, I'm just kidding. But this is what I think. I think this is the reason why. Because coaches create game plans according to tendencies. So when you're game planning against the Jaguars, 90% of the time, it's going to be a run between the tackles on first down. And as fans, I'm not telling you guys anything that's not a secret to you guys. So when you come out and run a play action, or you come out and run a screen, then your chances of getting a completion are very, very high because the other team sell out on a run and 90% of the time be correct. And that's a gamble that other teams are going to make. What'd you say his completion percentage was on first down?
64.9.
So 64%.
Let's just say 65.
We'll say 65, okay. So on first down, 6.5 times out of 10, Blake completes the pass when the other team is sold out on the run. So when you phrase it like that, it's not as impressive.
Are we factoring in any drops from the receivers too?
That's
on
a
that,
good
though?
point. That's a
Because
good
there
point.
are a lot of those.
That is a good point. There's a lot of drops. And it's not just the Jaguars. Maybe I'm selling them short. Most teams run the ball on first down. Not just the Jaguars. Because you want to just see how many yards you can get without risking a turnover, without risking a sack. And
2nd and 7 is a lot better than 2nd and 10.
Absolutely. So you run the ball, and that's what most teams do. Most teams come out in their base formation of 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers expecting the run. And then on third down, most teams come out in their nickel package with 5 defensive backs and 2 linebackers expecting the pass. So if you're just playing a statistics game, you're going to have a higher completion percentage on first down, just by the nature of what the defense is game planning against your tendencies. Now, if you play a team like the Patriots who run the ball 5 times in a game, that goes out the window. But you're talking about a team like the Jaguars, who's known against the run. They're going to do what's called put 8 in the box, where they put 8 defensive players inside the first 5 to 6 yards, and then they play man coverage on your receivers because you only have maybe 2 receivers and a tight end, and it's easy to do that. But that would be why I think his completion percentage is higher on first down than other downs.
And another thing to note is there were a lot of people. I mean, a lot of the radio people, a lot of fans wanted them to throw more on first down. But I mean, if you look at the breakout between first, second, and third down, which I agree, first down is generally a running down, third down is generally a passing down. Maybe if you're not a great team, that's the way it goes. Or if your offense gets better, maybe you don't need to throw the ball on third down because we threw the ball the least amount on third down last year. We had 185 attempts on first, 168 on second, and 166 on third. We did throw the ball a lot on first down. I mean, how much more can you do that?
How much more can you throw the ball on first down?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, a team like the Patriots can do it all the time.
well, okay. Let's look up what Brady's first, second, third down stats were. It was
I mean, that's such an impossible.
I know, but that's what everybody compares
Gauge,
everything to. I
you
mean,
know?
seriously though, I mean,
That's true. I mean, Patriots are the tendency breaker of everything.
Yeah. I'd say we went and looked at the first drive that the Jaguars had against the Steelers in the playoffs. Second round of the playoffs in Pittsburgh this past season. That first drive, the Jaguars had a touchdown. Went up 7-0. They started the game with a run on first down. Fournette had about a 5-yard run. Great first down run. You'd take that all day long. Second first down, Bortles play action pass completed for 15 or 20 yards. Next first down, same exact thing. Like that, they're down inside the 8-yard line, ended up running in for a touchdown on fourth down. So they went run, pass, pass, run on their 4 first downs of that drive. What is kind of going back to Jason's point that you need to note of the 2 passes that they did on first, both were play action. Why? Because teams are betting on the Jags running on first down almost exclusively. And so those play actions work so well. And Jay, we were even, going back and watching the game, he's like, man, these guys are wide open. Why? Because no one is expecting Bortles to throw it on first down when Fournette is in the backfield and the Jags are supposedly a run-first team. So,
and not to mention that both passes, which combined for over 30 yards, were to Koyak on a drag across the field, tight end, uncovered, and O'Shaughnessy on a tight end flare, uncovered, for runs after the catch.
Well, that's because those I'm a proponent. I think we should be throwing more on first. I'm a proponent of we should be throwing a little bit more altogether. But I feel like that's also because when you're coming out against a team for your first drive, that's why it's so crucial, because they don't really know what to expect. So you've schemed for this first drive play for that whole week, and you come out and they don't have anything coming against you for the most part. They're gambling to figure out what you're going to do. So that's why that first drive is so important versus throughout the whole rest of the game. Well, then it's kind of your cookie cutter bread and butter stuff that you do, unless you're a team like the Patriots where you can completely scheme the entire game. For the most part, you're going back to your typical plays that you're running in, week out, just figuring out how to phase them out a little differently. But, that first drive is hard to go completely on because, again, you've had a whole week to figure out how you're going to run that first drive to get that early touchdown lead.
I think his stats being better on first down are less about him as a quarterback and more about the coaching staff being able to scheme against other teams, whether it be a fake punt when you're not expecting it, whether it be going to a tight end that we haven't thrown to all year, whether it be Tommy Bowe running touchdowns in from running back. I think that just fits into the mold of them doing a great job from a coaching standpoint of beating defenses.
I agree with that, but I also think it has to do with, people have been talking about this for a long time. It seems like Blake does better, almost instinctive style playing and playing quicker than he does when they're having a lot of time to think about plays in between each one, where they're using that clock a little bit more. It seems like when he gets out there and he snaps the ball and just starts going, it's usually it tends to seem like he does better in those.
No, he's definitely a gamer. He's not the schemer. You throw him out there in play action, you keep it running, 2-minute drill type stuff. I think he does way better. I agree.
I think what every offense strives for is balance. Balance, balance, balance. If you get too top heavy on pass or on run, the wheels start to fall off. And so you can say, man, Bortles is so good on first down. Why don't we do that more? Well, if you start doing that more, then the defenses are going to recognize it, and he's not going to be as good. He's probably going to throw a pick or two. And so what you need to do is establish balance in both. And to me, what I would rather have as an offensive coordinator is 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, or 2nd and 4. Let Fournette establish the run, control the clock, control possession, and then let Bortles be free to do his thing. All right, Bortles is not Aaron Rodgers. All right, he's not Tom Brady. He's not going to be able to pick teams apart with his arm. They're not going to let him throw it 35 plus times a game. He's not that type of quarterback. So if you want him to throw on first down all the time, that means he's going to be. That's what you're asking him to be, is that quarterback that's going to throw 35 plus times. That's not how they want to play. They want balance, balance, balance. And I think they accomplished that really well last year because the numbers are identical on their run plays versus their pass plays. And so, yes, throw in those plays where Bortles is throwing on first down. But you can't do it too much because then things get out of whack.
I also think that, with 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on first down, that says a lot more about our defense than it does Bortles, that they put him in an insanely good field position based off maybe an interception or a strip sack that they didn't run back, something like that, where he had really good field position and had the opportunity to score immediately. I
agree with you. I just have to quickly say, because a lot of people use that point that our defense did it, but when it came to the playoffs, Bortles, for the most part, won us those games in the playoffs. The defense,
true.
Except Buffalo.
Except for Buffalo.
Well, that was with his legs, man.
Yeah, that was with his legs.
Defense held him to 6 points.
That's true. I'll give you Buffalo. But other than that, it was Blake putting up points. It wasn't the defense putting us in positions every single time to get us into that touchdown zone. So, through the whole regular season, yes, I agree. But for I mean, when it came clutch, I mean, he did it.
I would love to see his stats up through November and then December through the playoffs.
I mean, he was one of the top ones in December.
If you just sat down and looked at those and didn't know it was the same player, you would think it was two different quarterbacks.
It'd be night and day. Absolutely.
Yeah, he had one of the highest quarterback ratings all through December.
I know Pro Football Focus is very polarizing with people, thinking that they're legit or not legit. But just for the sake of the conversation, I think they're interesting to talk about. He's ranked.
Not on the fence, Jason. Are they legit or not legit?
Well, their stats.
I can argue for him or against
it depends on if you like analytics or not.
Yeah, but I will give you, according to their analytics, he's the 20th best quarterback in the league. And his passer rating, he's the 24th best quarterback, and he's the 8th best rushing quarterback.
This is the same people that said Jonathan Cyprien was the second best safety in the league like 4 years ago.
You're right.
Honestly, I'd throw him around 15 best. I mean, that's not too far off.
Yeah,
I need to see names, without seeing the list.
I think he's between 15 and 10, somewhere in there.
But here is an interesting stat that is just straight numbers. That's interesting to look at. Is with his passer rating when he has a clean pocket is 96.
Wow.
His passer rating under pressure is 55. He has the largest difference of passer rating between a clean pocket and under pressure than any quarterback in the league at 40 points passer rating.
So he actually throws worse on the run.
Welcome to Jacksonville, Andrew Norwell.
Exactly. And that's one thing I was going to bring up when we were talking about, I agree with James. I'd much rather Fournette, even though teams know we're going to run, look where we're invested in the running game. Fournette, top 5 pick. Norwell, the highest paid guard in the league. Cam Robinson, second-round pick. Linder might be a top center in the league.
He's paid as the best center in the league.
Right. Bortles, middle-of-the-road paid quarterback. Marquise Lee, our number 1, middle-of-the-road paid receiver. Dante Moncrief, our number 2, not making that much money. So look at where our money is, and our money is heavily invested in our running game. So even though teams know we're going to run, I'm still more comfortable with us running on every first down, which opens up Blake Bortles' passer rating on first down, which is why I think it's shown that he does better on first down, because the few times he does, he completes to wide open tight ends, to wide open fullbacks.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder how many of those first down passes were to Fournette. I mean, he did pretty well in the backfield.
This play actions, that Hackett is a master at play actions. I am constantly impressed. I mean, the touchdown pass to Tommy Bohannon was a play action to Yeldon and then a play action to a receiver on a sweep and then a throw to Bohannon. Hey. So a double play action, which just, I think Hackett's one of the best play callers in the league outside of
Peterson.
Yeah, Doug Peterson.
Coming through in the clutch.
Doug Peterson is a great play caller. The Packers have a great play caller, but I think Nathaniel Hackett is up there. And I'm excited to see, I know it's a side point, I'm excited to see what he does with DJ Chark, because in college, he ran sweeps, kick returned, all kind of crazy stuff.
I'm excited to see what Bortles does with Hackett in year 2, fully year 2.
Well, it's the first time he's had the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row, ever.
Yeah.
How could he not get better?
I think, history tells us that it takes a quarterback a few years to establish himself in the league. All the greats, everybody, even the mediocre ones, it takes a few years. Throw in having a new offensive coordinator every year, having a terrible offensive line, a terrible head coach, terrible players around you. It's not going to look pretty.
Hurt.
And now those things have changed, so we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to wrap up episode 10 of Another Jags podcast with the Players' Championship, which begins this week. I think Jason's going to boycott this segment.
It's not that I don't like the TPC. It's just that I'm completely ignorant when it comes to golf. It's just John Daly still golf. I liked him.
I think he's tearing up the senior tour, actually.
When he's not doing autograph sessions at Hooters parking lots.
That's why I love him, man. But
so you're just, rather than dilute the conversation with ignorance, you're just going to choose to step back and not
absolutely
talk.
I think that's what a good sports commentator would do,
right?
Rather than try to just interject their opinion to be heard.
That's kind of a fresh take. I would only show up for half the podcast if that was the way going on.
Yeah, I'm going to interject my opinion to be heard, because I have nothing on golf either, but I'm going to give you something.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and give you our completely uneducated predictions on the Players' Championship. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to our last segment of episode 10 of Another Jags podcast. We've talked about Dante Fowler. We've talked about Yannick Ngakoue. We've talked about Blake Bortles. And so it's natural for us to talk about golf now, which is what we're going to do, because this is a big week in Jacksonville. The Players' Championship is about to get underway, and some of us dabble in other sports. Jason is a big hockey guy. Robert's a big hockey guy. I could not tell you a thing about hockey. I can't even see the puck when I try and watch a game. Joe, you're a golf fan, right?
Absolutely, man. Love golf.
How often do you watch golf tournaments on the weekend?
I mean, I absolutely, the majors. I mean, I watch, of course, the Open, or I guess the British Open, the U.S. Open, however you want to
the Open
classify that. Open Championship, whatever you want to call it. The Masters is one of the greatest sporting events in the world, in my mind. And I think TPC Sawgrass is right up there. It is a major, whether you want to have that argument or not. I mean, people say it's cliched, or majors are defined by the fans and the purses and the field. And with that being said, it's a major. So, but whatever. It's great.
Best field in golf.
Absolutely.
For any tournament. So there's
and the most money, right?
It was at one point. I don't know if it still is. I mean, the money right now is just out of control.
Yeah, I think the number one gets almost $2 million, and it's like an $11 million purse this year.
I mean, really, the highest winning is the FedEx Cup. Winner of that gets $10 million, but that's
sure,
a culmination of tournaments.
Yeah, I would separate that from everything else. Yeah. I mean, as far as like the normal tournaments.
Let me ask you all this: whether you're a golf fan or not, where do you rank this event in terms of on the calendar year in Jacksonville as events go? Is the Players' Championship number one?
I think it's the second biggest event. Short of 4th of July biking at the beach.
Oh, gosh. What life do you live?
Hey, I didn't say I'd do it anymore, but I mean, it's a big event. I mean, all joking aside, it absolutely is. I think a lot of people would argue Florida, Georgia is, and I think regionally that is a big deal. But I mean, at this point, TPC, it's international. I mean, you've got people from all over the country. You've got telecasts in multiple different countries. It's a completely different scale. It's absolutely is the biggest.
You got to put Florida, Georgia in front of it. I mean, there's like over 100,000 people downtown at Florida, Georgia. And I mean, they got to add seats to TIAA Bank Stadium for people just to view the event. And that's not to mention the thousands of people that are just in their RVs watching the game down there. I mean, I love golf, and I enjoy going down the TPC, not as much as I used to. It's just so freaking hot nowadays down there, and unless you have one of those tickets for a AC tent, it can
not next year, though. Next year it'll be in March.
Next year, yeah, it'll be raining.
Cold.
It'll be raining, yeah. But for me, I enjoy the Players. I'm glad Tiger's going to be back because it'll give me something to watch. But to be honest, I don't end up watching a bunch of golf when I go down there.
Yeah, I would agree with the Florida, Georgia being the biggest. But, I mean, after that, I think TPC is it.
I think it's a tough one to say because they are both very big events. I would argue maybe the Players over Florida, Georgia because of this reason and this reason only. It is the only game in town when it's in its sport. Like there's no other tournament that anyone's watching this weekend. The Players is it. It has the best field, whereas Florida, Georgia, there's I don't know how many other college football games going on that weekend, and not to disparage either team, but Florida hasn't been great the last couple. It's not like there's marquee matchups like it used to be. And then like when Florida was awesome, Georgia wasn't. So we haven't seen. I would love to see Florida, Georgia when both teams are in the top 5. Yeah, I think I haven't really seen that, at least not in my adult life. It's been a long time since both teams have been stellar. Whereas in golf, I mean, the pairings this weekend, there's a couple groups that, I mean, Mickelson, Ricky Fowler, and Tiger as a threesome. That's insane. That's two of those guys are on Mount Rushmore of this generation of golf. When you look at it just from a perspective of that, and then this nationally and internationally, there's the NBA playoffs are going on. I guess hockey playoffs. I'm not sure how those audiences cross over, but Sunday afternoons right now, unless there's an NBA playoff game on, golf is it. You're not really watching anything else. I guess maybe NASCAR. Is NASCAR still a sport? I don't really know.
Wait a minute. You said hockey. Is it the Olympics right now? Winter Olympics?
No, there's actually playoffs hockey going on. I think I saw it on Twitter somewhere.
Like they have uniforms and everything?
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty crazy.
So NASCAR is still number 3. I think basketball just took it over, but
NASCAR can't be number 3. It's not ahead of baseball.
I think it was ahead of basketball until just recently.
It was the number 2 sport.
Yeah, it was
NASCAR?
number 2. Yeah,
for a long time.
That's a few years ago. It's dropped off a lot.
Yeah, it's dropped off big time.
Yeah. Okay. It like peaked and then just plummeted. I don't know why. I'm not
Dale.
a NASCAR fan anyway.
Dale Jr. That's all it
Anyway,
took.
I don't want to veer anywhere
Don't get me
close to
started
NASCAR
on that.
on this podcast ever. So that's it. We're backing up, and let me just say, okay. So let's go with some predictions really quick. We're not gonna discuss the players ad nauseum or anything like that, but let's give some predictions. Who do you guys think are gonna win? We're gonna start with our not golf fans first. Let's go with Jason because he's smiling like he's playing with house money
I
already.
think neophyte is the word you're looking for.
John Daly, 100%.
Okay. How about someone that's actually in the field? You have any player in the field?
I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler because I think he dresses the best.
Okay.
I'm going to go Justin Thomas for 2 reasons. He's American, and that's the group I'm following on Friday.
Okay. That's a good group to follow.
America.
Yeah.
That's all it is for me. So.
Speaking of that, I'll say this too about golf. The Ryder Cup, if you're not a golf fan, you need to watch the Ryder Cup in September. I'm telling you, it'll change your perspective on golf. It is
that the
one
one
of
they
the
cheer at?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Where they actually scream and
It is
stuff?
amazing.
That's my big
and
thing.
It's the one Sunday where I'll obviously watch the Jags, but after that, I'm watching golf all day because it's just incredible. It's a sight to see. Anyway, I digress. We have Ricky Fowler from Jason, Justin Thomas from Robert. Joey?
I honestly, flip-flopped on this and spent way too much time thinking about it. I mean, it's literally, I've changed my mind 18 times. Originally, I was going to go with Fowler, but then I saw he was paired with Tiger and Phil, and I think he's going to crumble under that grouping. I mean, it's going to, he's used to fans.
I don't really understand. You said that before we started recording. I'm not really sure I follow that because he's not a stranger to the spotlight.
No, it's not about the fans following him. It's about the fact that he's playing with Tiger and Phil. I mean, those guys aren't at their peak anymore. I mean, questionably, Phil's playing some good golf right now. But, dude, you're playing with Tiger, man. I mean, that guy's an imposing figure, whether he is balling or not. And he could sit there and make fun of Fowler's pants all day long and get in his head. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's a gamer. So I don't think Fowler's got a shot. I mean, my final call right now is I'm actually going with Phil as my number one.
It's a good pick.
For a stretch pick, I'm going to actually take Austin Cook. Because, as you know, I'm all about the backstory. And
All right, it's my turn now.
guys got moxie, but
Okay,
I'll pass it to you.
I'm going to go with Kuchar. He's won there before. He's been playing really solid. He's a perennial top 10 golfer. I mean, he's always landing in the top 10. This tournament is so hard to predict because it's not like there's just a certain type of player that can win this. It challenges every player. I'm going to go with my kind of wild card pick after him. I'm going to go with Russell Knox. Who's his backstory is played at JU. He's from Scotland.
Oh, you get backstory and I don't?
Well, yeah, because mine's good.
All right, there you go.
Last year he was in contention, and then on Saturday he got to 17, and he was the guy. He 10-cupped it and just went awful. So I'd like to see a story of redemption for him. So I'm going to say old Noxie maybe, but my overall pick is Kuchar. I think Phil's a great pick. Listen, I would love to see Tiger, roll some putts in
honestly,
that'd
be amazing.
That'd be awesome. Even if he doesn't win, top 10 would be great, top 5, and hey, why not win it? That would be a huge story.
I will say one more thing, which I found kind of interesting today as I was switching my picks and trying to pick stuff. There's only been 2 players ever who have won more than one TPC tournament, Sawgrass. Guess who those 2 are, James? You can probably get this.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
There's only been 2 players ever who have won more than one.
Okay, who have won it twice. I know Tiger's won it once.
Yep, he's won 2.
And, oh, man.
You said are currently playing?
Not currently playing, just ever.
Do you guys
Jack Nicklaus?
Yep.
He won 4.
He won 3. So you've got 2 players in history that have won it more than one time. That shows the course, that shows the difficulty, and it's hard to pick somebody who's won it before to win it again.
Davis Love, I think, is another one.
No,
won it
not that I saw. I mean, possibly. But I've got the list here. I don't think so. Could have gotten that wrong.
Has Ricky won it before?
Yes.
2000.
3 years ago.
Still staying with him.
One of the best finishes ever at the Players.
I'm still sticking with
him.
him.
And I took that into consideration, that very few people win it twice, but
and that's why I wanted to pick Spieth. I mean, he's one of the best golfers in the world. He doesn't rely on the long ball. He hits fairways. He hits greens.
He also hasn't made the cut.
He falls apart at that course, man. I mean, it's
not Georgia.
Yeah.
Have you seen Ricky's
rough.
girlfriend though? Come on now, he's gonna win.
Hey, well then you're picking Dustin Johnson if you're going that route, man.
Well, I can't think of a classier way to end this episode.
We should all go to 4th of July down at the beach now.
I think Jason really is a John Daly fan. Watching how he rolls.
Hey, grip it and sip it, right? In his new beverage company.
Hey, listen, real quick, we want to just remind everyone we are on Twitter at Another Jags Pod, and we are on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. Again, SoundCloud, iTunes, all those podcast platforms. We're there. You can find us. We want to thank you real quick. If you've listened to one episode or if you've listened to all of them, thank you for giving us your time. We love doing this. We love the Jaguars. We have a great time. And the fact that people are spending their time listening to us is pretty awesome. It's pretty humbling. And this is our 10th episode, which is great as well. And the season hasn't even started yet. Imagine what it's going to be like when the Jags actually start playing. Seems like forever from now because the draft is over, free agency's over. We have rookie mini camp starting this weekend, so that we'll be talking about that next week. But again, thank you, listeners, and if you would, just spread the word. If you know people that are Jags fans, let them know about this because we're all about talking Jags. That's what we want to do, and that's what we're going to do because this is our team, this is our city, and this is a team that we love, and that's what we're going to talk about. So thanks again. We'll see y'all next week. Go Jags.